r/AskReddit. Taxi/Uber/Lyft drivers of Reddit. What are the most interesting/entertaining/fuck-up situations that happened to you during the shift? Not a driver, but was recently a passenger in an Uber. It was a Monday morning, so of course I was a little down and not in the mood to talk too much. The driver starts going on about how beautiful the weather is and starts explaining a good day starts with being positive. She then asked if I would like to see her book. I was a little confused, but I said sure. She starts explaining that she carries this scrapbook with index cards and markers for all of her riders. She said she usually asks them to write some sort of positive message or just tells them they can simply write whatever they want. This book was filled with notes from people where we live, outside of the area, and even from people traveling from outside of the country. Some writing uplifting messages, some writing random funny lines, some drunks scribbling support for our sports teams. Just so many different messages from so many random people on different walks in life. Before I got out, I told her how the messages completely turned my Monday around for the better and I really appreciate what she does. She simply said, if she can bring a smile to someone's face, her day is made. I now always hope that I have the same driver whenever I request an Uber so I get a chance to continue reading the book of positivity. I matched with a girl on Tinder by accident, and she messaged me saying she liked PBR, which is in one of my pictures. Being awkward and not wanting to waste her time, I just unmatched without saying anything. Around this time I was near the beginning of my brief tenure as an Uber driver, and who the fuck do you think I pick up the very next day? I immediately try to slouch hoping she doesn't recognize me, and after 5 minutes of silence, right when I think I'm in the clear, she says, "Hey, did we match on Tinder?" To which I reply, "I don't think so." Then she says, "Yeah, I messaged you about PBR and then you unmatched me." And I just let out a feeble kind of "oh, yeah." Then I look down at my GPS, and there's 25 minutes left in this ride. I did not get a tip. Picked up 2 guys from a hotel. Destination is in the Hollywood Hills. When we're navigating up the winding roads of the hills, one of the guys mentions that he hates going to famous football player's house because he always gets a little carsick. He tells me he knows this player because he plays for the famous player's alma mater and is in town to work out for the NFL draft that year. This house is at the top of a hill with a beautiful view. When we get there, the drafted asks me to wait for a couple minutes and he enters the house. After a while, he gets back in the car and tells me I'm gonna follow 3 other cars to Six Flags. First car is a big, black Suburban followed by 2 luxury German sedans, and here I am with my economy car with an Uber sticker on it. Had a former NFL player live tweet from my backseat that he wanted to punch me in the mouth because I was chewing gum and he could hear it. Never said a word to me. I didn't even realize I was doing it. Maybe be an adult and let someone know next time instead of threatening them on social media like a little bitch. The folks driving you are people, too. Not me, but my cousin drives Uber. He often tells stories about creepy/sick/strange passengers on every family gathering, so there is quite a lot, but not that much interesting, except those 3. He dropped a guy, dressed up to the nines, with bouquet of roses at his fiancée's address. She was really surprised when he broke up the engagement very next day. As an added level of what the fuckery, it came out around week later, that my cousin was the side guy. Their engagement was done in front of her parents too. He also had replaced the back seat and half of carpeting because woman broke water and started to deliver a baby. While he was driving her to the hospital with her husband, they were going there to induce the labor, as it was past term. He laughs that he shook the baby out of her. Fun fact, Uber does not cover replacing destroyed interior parts in my country, and insurance also said no, so he had to pay out of his pocket. He also failed police drug sting operation. He was asked to drive a bag to location. He immediately thought it was way too fishy and pulled up to the nearest police station, and lo and behold, totem bag full of plastic string bags with white powder and a tracker. He sometimes delivers things like clothes in a bag to the gym, or groceries, but the guy weirded him out. I was the passenger for this one, but I've been fucking mortified ever since, so I'm gonna put it on the internet to make the memory less powerful. So, I had a miscarriage 5 days earlier, and I was resolutely continuing with my life because not continuing with it would have involved telling people why I needed to take a few days, and I just really didn't want to because I hadn't even disclosed that I was pregnant in the first place. So I was Ubering to work in my numb emotional haze. The driver had this aggressively Christian music playing, which was fine, until one of the songs got really into babies. It was something like, "Baby Jesus is the holiest thing ever and you've just got to love him," With his little feet and his little face and his innocence and all this pure love in your heart because baby. So I, somewhat frantically cause I'm half a degree away from bawling my eyes out in this Uber, go sorry, can you change the station? And the driver goes, why? I just really need you to change the station. Do you not like Christian music? Please just change the station. So she changes the station, and gives me a weird look, and for like 2 seconds I'm taking deep breaths and thinking okay, this is fine, I can keep it together, I can contain this situation to just that one time I gave a ride to a panicked atheist, as far as she's concerned, and then I went ahead and cried my farkin' eyes out anyway, while the driver gave me a rather alarmed look, and her perception of the situation probably became that one time I gave a ride to an atheist who might need an exorcism. She didn't ask, so I just stumbled out of the car and went to work with no more words exchanged between us. And then, when I was coming home from work, I got the same driver again. And I got in the car and she immediately turned the radio off and drove me home in complete silence. Not a driver but a pretty frequent Uber/Lyft customer. So I was going up to my buddy's house in NH and it was 25-minute drive and me and the driver started talking. I asked him basically this exact question. My Lyft driver said one day late at night he picked up 2 dudes in Boston. They were both pretty drunk or high. One dude is in the front seat and one is the back. The guy up front starts fiddling with something in his pocket. His friend tells him to stop and just wait nervously. The dude in the front seat proceeds to pull out some cocaine and a credit card and proceeds to do it on the dashboard. The driver looks over and freaks out and tells him to put away his stuff or he kicks them out of the car. He puts it away, the dudes get dropped off and the driver proceeds to call Lyft support. He basically says the did coke off my dashboard don't accept his credit card anymore. Bonus story, while going to work I asked another driver this question. The driver said a bunch of guys were having a bachelor party. They were super cool and excited. Hitting the strip club and the bars and they already pre-gamed. These brothers were such brothers that they straight up invited the driver to party with them. The driver said okay. He partied with them all night long after closing the app and I think he might be friends with some of them now. He said he had an awesome time and so did the guy who was gonna get married. He bought them all around and they had an awesome time. Friend of mine visiting NYC took a taxi back to his hotel late night. Riding in the back he found a small women's clutch purse thing. Inside was the ID of a 19-year-old girl, and a business card of a police officer in a town neighboring state. The police officer had the same last name as the girl, so my friend figured the officer was the girl's father and she carried the card in case she ever needed to get herself out of a traffic ticket or something. My friend figures he can leave a voicemail on the officer's business number when he gets back to the hotel, then leave the purse at the hotel front desk for the girl to come pick up, so that is exactly what he does as soon as he gets up to the hotel room. About 3 hours later, now 3 or 4 a.m., he is in a deep sleep when loud knocks on his hotel room door wake him up. It's a bunch of NYPD detectives who want to know all the details of how he found the purse, like where he originally hailed the cab, etc. Turns out the girl was indeed the daughter of the cop on the business card, and she had been missing for a few days. The discovery of her clutch purse was the first sign of her that had popped up. My friend had paid for the cab via credit card and had kept the receipt, so he was able to pass that along to the detectives who, presumably, were able to use that to track down the cab driver and find out any information he could provide. Ultimately, my friend doesn't know what happened, the cops never contacted him again. Picked a guy up from a strip club around 5 p.m. He had clearly been there for a while and was talkative drunk. He started talking to a friend on his phone and kept saying he couldn't go into detail because he had a lady driver. He told me he was going home and then taking his daughter out to a basketball game because there was a after-game concert she was very excited about. Little did he know, or I know because I was just following the GPS, that he had been routed to her high school. Dude's in a rumpled suit, smells like strip club, and is clearly not sober. He got a resolved look, handed me a few singles, said thanks for the ride boo, and just hitched up his pants like a man embracing his shitty situation. Not a driver but a passenger. My family and I were on vacation in Chicago, and had to make an 11 p.m. flight at O'Hare. Sounds easy, right? I wish it had been. We were late, because we'd been sightseeing. The train was delayed due to construction, so we went back to the street to find a Uber/Lyft XL, 4 people/4 plus suitcases. I was the one with the account, but I wasn't having luck because my signal kept bouncing/getting lost between the skyscrapers. Imagine our luck when we saw an empty cab waiting for the light. Not. Long story short. It was a gypsy cab. Guy tried to weasel out of using his meter, but was outshouted by my dad and a guy had to stop and get gas on the way to the airport. At least he turned off the meter for that. Got to the airport like half an hour or so before our flight's departure. I signaled my sister out of the cab, and we started unloading our shit like professionals who'd done this before. I was afraid that if our parents couldn't pay, the guy had said his credit machine worked, until we got to the airport, so our parents were trying to dig out their cash. He'd try to take off with our luggage and sell it or whatever. We had missed the absolute last-minute check-in for our flight by 5 minutes. If it weren't for his needing gas, well, we still wouldn't have made it. The security line was almost at the check-in counter. Ended up having to transfer to a 6 a.m. flight the next day, and sleeping at the airport hotel.
I'd love it if you liked and subscribed.